Our next guest, Martin Sharp, Sharp Fitness, is a speaker, a trainer, a coach, a consultant. He doesn't just work on your physical fitness, he works on fitness for your life so that your holistic life, your business life, your relationships, your life is much more enjoyable for you. And welcome, Martin. I am so happy to see you. You have been all over Facebook. You've been, I say all over Facebook like it's a bad thing, all over Facebook in a good way with presenting, running, being in a book that we're both in. And so I feel so lucky that you've pinned down to sit in one space for all of 45, 50 minutes. And so I'm really happy to have you here. And I want to kick you off with my first question, which is, well, you know that feeling that there's a stirring or an ache or even what feels like a whack around the head if you don't listen to it soon enough, that you are meant for more. First of all, have you ever had that feeling? And
The whack around the
secondly, have you
head
had it and
several
taken
times.
action? Say that again.
Definitely the whack around the head several times, I think.
I'm not talking about 2 a.m. when you've come home late.
No. Thankfully, Sarah's much more kinder than that. But I don't think I've had that kind of stirring kind of feeling. That thing that's just like a dull ache in the back of the head. I think, but for me, it definitely was this just needs to sort this out. And for me, that was the kind of big transformational moment where I suddenly realised actually I couldn't continue to do what I was doing before. Up until that, everything just kind of was working as clockwork, really. We had an idea of what I wanted to do as a career. Went out and did that. That kind of got to the point where I was satisfied. I was helping lots of people.
What was your career? So
Yes,
what were you doing?
my career, I became it wasn't as an enterprise architect. So what an enterprise architect does is they go inside to organizations that can take the organization apart, show all the little bits are inside it, and then work out how to put it back together a lot better. So it works at all levels. So whether that's to do with people, process, technology, how you interact with things, how those interact with change. So yeah, it was absolutely fantastic. I loved it, and I kind of realised I'd got to, because I kind of set that intention. I wanted to be. I didn't know what the title was for that role when I first started straight after college. It's just I knew I wanted to do it. So the title I gave it was I wanted to be a consultant. I wanted to consult on how you can actually create better businesses, how you can utilize technology, how can you utilize people in a much better way to actually be better for them, be better for the business, be better for the planet. And yeah, so by the time I got to 2007, I thought actually I'd achieved that really well. I'd just done our first £1 billion merger and acquisition, where I was leading the transition team on that, and I thought this is pretty good. I'm happy with that. As many things happen, I had that moment where it was like, okay, well, what do you do next? You've kind of achieved what you set out when you were like 18 years old, and okay, where'd you go?
Where did you go?
I went back to uni. It's because
Well,
it's the classic.
Well, what I'm fascinated in is how does an 18-year-old young man know that he wants to take businesses apart, make them much more efficient, much more aligned, and put them back together again? How did you know that that was a thing? And how did you know you wanted to do it?
It was all. I always enjoyed taking things apart. I mean, you can ask my mum, and I used to have drawers of things that was like in pieces most of the time, just simply because I wanted to know how things tick. So I had a very clear passion about how do things work, how can you actually make things work even better. So that's always been part of who I've been. And I think that's kind of been part of my family as well. My father showed me all sorts a destroy it yourself perspective, and my grandfather was a draftsman originally, so his claim to fame is he was a plastic specialist. So he did all of the ducting on Concorde, doing design for Concorde. So I did have some very nice influences in my life who kind of helped me on that kind of journey, and were quite happy for me to tinker and play and just see how things work. And it was a very varied kind of childhood. My parents were both divorced, so I had an interesting upbringing where my father's side was lots of being outdoors, lots of cycling, lots of going camping things. My mum's side was lots more about the arts and travel and experience and things like that. So very varied. But I think that kind of gave me a quite wide and eclectic viewpoint of things. So by the time I got to, it was actually my father and my uncle that got me a job in Royal Mail. when I was in college, working for it was an IT department, but it's actually part of finance. Because at the time there wasn't such a thing as an IT department; it just didn't exist.
No.
So yeah, so I was
What
part of finance.
what year was this? Just so we can picture it.
Crumbs. This was 1992.
Yeah, no IT department.
No, no. So yeah, so that's where things started for me. So I kind of just got involved, enjoyed it, did more of it. The more I did it, the more I enjoyed it. So yeah, by the time I got to 18, it was kind of okay. Well, this is clearly something I enjoy, something I wanted to do more of. So how can we make this happen?
And so what happened in 2007?
So 2007, it was a good year actually. First of all, my daughter was born, which is the most important thing of 2007. And literally within 2 weeks of her being born, we won that piece of work, which was to deliver a £1 billion hospital divestment. So the hospital group was being divested in the UK. It was bought by a venture capitalist firm. And they were looking at effectively how can you separate these entities and make it still continue to work and operate, and how can you provide some improvements, etc. And our business was a dot-based, and it wasn't a huge one, but we were up against some of the bigger players in the market space there, and our quote came in, I think we were £1.2 million more expensive than the nearest bidder. And we still won it because we just showed more thought leadership, whereas people going into that with a very traditional transition then transformation kind of model, we knew that there was some significant problem with the model they already had. So why don't we just do in-flight transformation? And that's what we did. So they actually landed with a solution that's worked for them. And it was interesting. I caught up with Phil about 5 years after we did that, who was the chief operating officer. And he was saying that they were still running the same strategy that we laid out when we did the transition in 2007. And that was, I say, 5 years later in 2012. So yeah, it just proves if you do something right, and you enjoy it, and you kind of put that kind of passion behind it, you can make amazing things can happen. It doesn't have to always be a traditional way of doing it.
How did you then get to doing Sharp Fit? What was the catalyst for that? Was there a moment for that where you had the whack around the head rather than a gentle stirring? I'm privileged because I already know your story, having seen you speak at Sammy Blindell's Impact Catalyst event, but I want to make sure that I don't have a blind spot with it where I forget to ask you questions that other people want to know about. So what was the catalyst for you? I mean, you're clearly in your fabulous gym.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We've got the gym, we've got other bits of equipment over here, we've got the sign back there, we've got more equipment
Yeah,
down there. Yeah. So this is
yeah.
my kind of gym and studio. So I tend to do a lot of the work here. So we do all the tutorials based in here. So helping people, teaching people. Because one of the kind of key things is to make sure people have got the skills themselves. Unfortunately, people's bodies don't come with user manuals. They never have done.
No.
But actually giving people the ability to actually learn and understand how the body works is just fantastic. And it's certainly what made the difference to me. But coming back to your question, so 2007, obviously got as far as I went back to uni. And by the time I got to 2009, well, actually during uni, I met a guy called Andrew Mason, who's an amazing serial entrepreneur based in Yorkshire. And he kind of said to me, he says, why are you doing this for everybody else? Why don't you set up your own business and do it for yourself? And I think I had what Michael Gerber would describe as the entrepreneurial seizure at that moment in time, thinking, okay, yeah, I can do this. My do's better than anybody else's do, actually, and not kind of realizing the enormity of what running a business actually means. And I threw myself into it. So 2009, we set the business up. And we started as a little consulting firm, which was working really well up until about 2010. I don't know if you remember back then, but we had that interesting financial crash that happened in 2009.
I was at the Institute of Directors dinner where Mervyn King announced, and it was televised in the room in that moment, we're now in recession. Yes, I remember it well.
Yeah, well, it was at that moment in 2010 when effectively everybody just shut the doors and said, okay, we can't spend any more money. So I'd literally set up the business 6 months in. It was like, okay, do get work from. And very quickly had to go out there and just try to get as much work in as I could, doing as much as I can. And it's at those times, when things are hard, when things aren't going the right way, that it kind of shows the character that you are, and what you are willing to do. And when you've got like 3 children, you've got a mortgage, you've got everything else, and you're effectively the sole breadwinner, it makes you do stuff that you're going to have to just get on and do it, right?
It focuses the mind, doesn't it? And actually, when you say when things don't go the right way, it's when it doesn't go the way we hoped and planned. It's like, I've got this plan, and this is really inconvenient, this recession. I remember listening to the news, and it was so negative. And I remember jumping over one of the retrievers. I usually have a set of 2. I always get my dog a dog. I think, oh, at the time, yeah. So I'm jumping over 2 retrievers to turn the TV off, turn the news off. And I thought, I can't afford to listen to this. And what if there were enough people that needed my services? I don't need everybody. I just need the people that resonate with me, that want what I've got to offer. What if I could reach them still? How would I need to be visible? What would I need to do? And I ended up being busier than I'd ever be. But I did have to not listen to the news. I did go around like with my hands over my ears, la 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 la, because it would have just terrified me. But you were probably getting companies saying we're not spending until we see a brighter future.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you kind of just keep going, don't you? You find those, like you say, you find the people that still need the help, they need the assistance.
Yeah.
And yeah, so
Don't
that's
you find the mind shows up in a really different way when it's got no choice? You look at those 3 hungry faces and Sarah, your wife, all, seeing the best in you, looking for you to still feed them. And I think it's one heck of a mind sharpener. You can have that one.
really.
There's plenty more where that came from. It's one heck of a mind sharpener knowing it is on me and I have to go for it. And I do think the mind shows up in a very different way to when it's got lots of different options, lots of different things that take us off track. What do you think? And what happened for you?
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, as soon as you get to the point where you start to concentrate on what it is that you need to do, and you've got very few choices, and yeah, it's suddenly you just get on with it. And it's a bit like the thing about.
Have you got an aircraft going over?
I think we have got an aircraft going
It's
over.
just gone over me and it's landed with. So, for those of you, none of you will know this. Martin and I both live in York. We decided to do this in our studios on this occasion, but an aircraft has just gone over my house and I can hear it going over yours now. It's RAF, isn't it?
It will be, yeah. They always just like practice flights, don't they? So we just
Yeah.
hit that wrong time of day.
It's great. I've had drilling in the car park that's behind me. They've been drilling. My house has been moving. And interestingly, other than it giving me a headache, it has not come across on the microphone with any of the conversations I've been having. It's a miracle, really. Anyway,
It just proves how much more louder an aircraft is than a drill.
it does. And the aircraft is much further away than the drill. Where were we?
So we're talking about sharpening the mind.
And
Well, when
yeah,
you have less
concentration.
choices. Yeah, and then it's a bit like that old thing about jam.
Jam.
Jam, absolutely like jam. So you go
Yeah.
to the shops, if you want to buy jam, if you've got one choice of jam, you buy the jam, right? It's not a problem.
Yes.
It's easy. You go to the shops like the supermarket, and all of a sudden you've got how many versions? I think last time I went to the supermarket, there's like 4 or 5 of those great big shelves, loads and loads of jam in there. You can have apricot jam, strawberry jam, raspberry jam, with or without bits.
Diabetes
Marmalade,
jam.
yeah, sugar-free jam, and you can't get to the point where it's okay. I just wanted jam, and half the time you then leave because you can't make a choice.
Yes.
You're procrastinating too long because there's too many options to go with. Whereas actually, when you've got fewer options, all of a sudden it makes your life a lot easier. And sometimes that's what you need to do if you want to really kind of push and put yourself into a position where you can make a change. Just limit your options down.
Well, a friend of mine was, she does her own interior design. I thought, it's absolutely, your pictures are gorgeous of your home. And she researches and finds the right pieces. And she said, a top tip, once you've found what you're looking for, stop looking. And that is actually a really good tip for life, isn't it? I mean, you can, husbands, wives, once you've got the one, stop looking at the others. When you've got a job, if it's the one you want and you've worked hard, stop looking, or stop looking to see where you could have got more money out of a client. I hate it when I hear those conversations where they said yes to my whatever fee, I should have asked for more. There's a really funny mindset around that, isn't there? I don't know where I'm going with this, but do you want to take over?
It's very interesting, is that one anyway. I mean, I've had a similar thing when I've talked to people through about business and stuff. They've kind of gone, oh, okay, well, how much should I charge? I said, well, okay, well, how much do you need? How much is it worth? And how committed do you want the other person to be? You know, and if you can work out what that is, it's very simple, because obviously you need to be able to bring the amount of money that you need in to make it work, plus the amount that's going to cost you for your marketing, advertising. You want to make sure that it's at a value that people feel they get good value for.
Yes.
And you're going to over deliver anyway. But at the same time, you want to be in a position where actually this doesn't come across as feeling cheap. Otherwise, people won't put the commitment in that they need to put in.
Absolutely.
So it's go for that. And then, some people say, I should have gone for double, or should have done this, should have done that. But you can't live in the shouldas. You've made the commitment. You've done what you've said you're going to do right there in that moment. Live with it. Enjoy it. Don't change the past.
It was the right, you know, it's the right, it's, I always want everything to be really fair. I'm a Libra and I'm right in my day is right in the middle of the two outer dates. So I love fairness. And so whenever I'm making a decision about pricing, always think of what's the fair for everyone, fair for the client, fair for me, and all the experience that I've got and all the training that I've had, and fair for the business so it's sustainable and can consistently run and reflects the outcomes that they want. And there is something when it comes to pricing, which is really interesting, that there is a psychology around pricing that helps support the belief system. I remember a friend saying, will you help, because I'm a clinical hypnotherapist, a master practitioner of NLP and hypnosis. She said, will you help me stop smoking? And I had a really massive track record of helping people stop smoking. And I said, I will, and I would love to do it for free, but it won't work if I do it for free. I'll have to charge you the £250 for the session. That was back years and years and years and years ago. And because I had successfully helped my sister stop twice for free, which is a real profile and credibility wrecker when somebody asked her at a party, has Lisa ever done it on you? Yes, twice. I'd just rather have not helped her. And she only started smoking again because we've gone right off track, but we'll stick with it since we're here. But she only started smoking again because she didn't miss it. And somebody offered her a cigarette at a party and she thought, oh, I don't feel like I want one. I'll have one because I'm fine, I'm cured. And had one and then didn't have one again to the next party. And she thought, well, I'll just have them at parties. And then before you know it, she's back smoking again. But I'd helped her for free. Now, I'm pretty sure if I'd have charged her £500, she'd have been conscious about that decision when she was offered the cigarette. And that, I think that philosophy and psychology stands for a lot of decisions we make if we make them consciously.
100%. And you find that in the results people have, because all of a sudden, when you put, money is just a form of energy, isn't it, realistically? It's a transfer of the amount of work that you do, transfers into an amount of money. That becomes part of the bartering system, and therefore you transfer that energy into using goods or services from somebody else. It's just a transfer of energy. When you're thinking about it from that perspective, and you're thinking, okay, well, actually, I've now got to put a percentage of how much I earn, how much I actually have had to work hard, how much I'm going to be not doing for other people because I've had to utilize this to change myself. All of a sudden, it has a bigger value, and you become more attentive to it. You actually then put the effort in behind it. Whereas, for example, how many people buy courses or buy books? Books are a classic, actually. Books are a classic. How many people buy books and never read them?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing. There's so many people's books on people's shelves where actually they've never ever read them, and it's almost like collecting the book becomes the element of it. Whereas actually the book that's never read actually has absolutely no impact on you. It does not help change you in any shape or form, other than taking up space in your house and creating clutter and a bit of mess. So you then have to think, okay, well, actually, how do you then change the value proposition here? How do you actually make it so this has more value to them? So then they'd actually put the same amount of effort in as if, for example, they were trying to earn that amount of money.
Absolutely. I think our value is a value of people's time, value of people's expertise, value of people's focus, people's attention. I have a saying that when you have someone's attention, take great care with it. It's none of it is for free. Someone's attention, they will never get that time of their life back again. So, in the spirit of getting us back to where I think we might have been before I led us down a rabbit hole, were we on what you do now? So, you're in your studio, your fitness studio. What is it that you do?
Yeah, so we got to 2010 when we were speaking about how did I actually create Sharp Fit. So one of the
Yeah.
kind of things that we spoke about during the event, and well, actually, presentation, so everyone heard about it, was by the time I got to 2014, running my business now for 5 years, I actually became incredibly overweight. I got weighed in 154 kilos, which is 340 pounds or 24 and a quarter stone. I had a 54-inch waist, but I didn't realize I'd grown that big until I was on holiday with my children, my wife, etc. In Florida in the US. I took my mum there actually because she, like I said before, she's a single parent, so she always wanted to take me and my brother to Disneyland. That was one of her dreams, but she never managed it. She never had the money for it. So I thought, oh, wouldn't it be wonderful if I took her to Disney World and she could take her grandchildren? Okay, it's not quite kids, but next best thing, right? So yeah, she thoroughly enjoyed it. But it was when we were there going on the Incredible Hulk ride when the guy stopped me as we get to the front of the queue and said, "I'm sorry, sir, but you're too big to fit on the seat." And I was pretty gobsmacked with it. So as you can imagine, yeah, having two children there who were wanting to go on this ride, and then being refused, and then sort of the realization actually that I'd done this myself. It was hard. Well, thankfully, a friend of ours came with us on that same holiday, so he took the kids on the ride for us, which was brilliant.
What did you feel? What did you feel when you were rejected to do something because of your size? What was the feeling that went with that?
Um,
Was
there's
it
several.
acceptance? Was it denial? Was it anger? Was it resistance? Was it
Yeah, I think there's several. I think the first one was, oh my god, how on earth what am I going to say to the kids? I think that was the first thing.
broken? The ride's broken. Still going round though, Dad. Yeah.
Yeah, too many people on it. And I think the other side of it is obviously there's an embarrassment being of it because obviously I've done this to myself. If I wasn't anything else. And there was like a bit of frustration and anger, but I think that was probably misdirected. The frustration and anger was more at me than anything else.
Yeah, but initially it comes out almost at. I'm not saying it did for you, but I would imagine that it's almost angry at the person that you have woken me up to this. And it's really inconvenient right now. I'm on holiday, and particularly in Florida, where I think everything must be in abundance. It's your opportunity to be in abundance. So I would, if it was me, I think I'd be angry with the person for couldn't you bring it to my attention at the end of the holiday? Not that they bring it to your attention, but there's things that just wake us out of our unconscious sleepwalking, isn't there?
Yeah, and I don't think I was. I don't think I was unpleasant with the chap or anything. I don't think it was an
No, you're
anger
not an
or.
unpleasant person.
But I think there was definitely a case of, what do you mean I don't fit in the seat?
Let's try it.
Yeah, and he did. I mean, bless him, he did. And the bit that didn't say during the presentation, but the more elaborated version of it is, he actually got us to wait to one side. There was a special car they have specific for people that are bigger, so he tried to fit us into there, and he couldn't actually get the restraints over. That was the final that he couldn't get done. So bless him, he did try as many ways as he can. But yeah, that just wasn't going to happen. I was not getting in that seat. But I think even then, the penny didn't really drop until a few days later, and we were sat in the villa we'd hired, looking at some of the photos, and my mum had got a photo of me and Sarah on the monorail coming back from Magic Kingdom to the car park, and literally, I've got boobs bigger than my wife's boobs. And I thought, how on earth have I done this to myself? And I think it was at that point that the real acceptance kind of came in that actually something has to change.
Well, and but when that happens, you're in a place that you want to move away from.
Hmm.
But had your and we know that it's amazing to have a towards goal. Like, yeah, there's this discomfort here, but what do you want to move into? What do you want that to feel like? Who will you be in that? What will your life look like? All of that. But that doesn't happen from the moment of knowing something's got to change, does it? What was your next thought, if you can remember? Something's got to change. Then where did your mind go?
Well, I kind of knew something had to change. Like you say, when you're in a vacuum, you kind of then start to grasp at anything into, nature abhors a vacuum. It always tries to fill it with something.
Hmm.
So at that point, it was, well, okay, well, what does everyone say you normally have to do? So I did that. I went, as soon as we landed back in Leeds, I went to the local Virgin Active, got myself a membership down there. With Sarah as well, so we all had a family
Nice.
membership. Was great. We could use this pools and all sorts of things. And then got a PT while I was there, a little lady called Kez. She was a bit of a dynamo, so she whipped me within an inch of my life. It felt every single week. Downloaded a diet plan off the internet because I'd heard you have to eat less, move more, so you have to eat diets right. I was tracking everything on MyFitnessPal or as an app on the phone. So yeah, I kind of thought, well, let's just go for it. Let's make it happen. I kind of thought that was it. That's all you have
Did
to
you
do.
have a go?
The goal was to feel better and
Right.
to lose weight. So that was it. It wasn't a specific goal. I didn't set a goal to say I'm going to be down to whatever number of weight
Running a
or
marathon.
no, nothing like that. That didn't come for a bit later, but we'll go through that when we get.
If I stop interrupting you.
No, you can interrupt us as many times as you like. That's it's part of the conversation, right? I say something, you respond. It's what happens, isn't it? Otherwise, it becomes a monologue, and that's really boring.
Well, you'll be sending me a speaking bill if I don't interrupt. It'll be like I did actually. So I did one of my motivational speak engagements on you. So there's a bill for it. This
That's
is my
okay.
way of not paying royalties.
It'd be my gift to you anyway.
I think just going back, the reason why I'm asking these questions is because I know that when people know that they're meant for more, there's a period where their mind is either searching, what is it, like needing to latch onto something, and also a period of so there's that part of it, and then there's a period of self-doubt or even self-awareness or curiosity or procrastination or denial, because when you know you're meant for more, whether that's changing your weight, your fitness, your health, or getting a new job, there is this unfamiliarity and discomfort in being conscious, because I think that feeling of I'm meant for more brings us into our consciousness, where uses our brain power, and we start to notice things everywhere that are not quite working for us. Whereas only last week we weren't thinking about those things. We were able to just almost like to have an easier life, but it's an illusion that it's easier. So that's why I'm asking all these tiny probing questions, because I'm just wondering if there's anybody listening or is in that space of, I think I'm ready for more, but I want to know what some of the clues might be.
Yeah, and I think for some people it happens in a very short amount of time. They'll have that kind of inkling, that inkling turn into a bit of an itch, and then they have to scratch that itch, and they're suddenly trying to explore what is the problem here. And I didn't have that. That's the thing. It was I knew I was overweight, so I knew I had to do something. The kind of big thing there was I couldn't. I knew it was going to affect my family. I didn't. I didn't have an itch. I didn't have a thing that I wanted to change. I was happy. I had a lovely family. I had lots of good friends, etc. And my business was doing well. So I wasn't unhappy. I wasn't in a place where actually I
And that's
felt.
the problem, isn't it? Almost everything's great, just this one thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was just literally trying to sort out this thing with my own health, really, more than anything else. So I just went down the traditional route of trying to sort the weight out. That didn't work. So I spent a year basically going to the gym, eating well, with a PT, etc., and didn't really lose any weight at all. I think I
Oh, you
lost.
didn't?
I think I lost about 1 or 2 kilos. So from that, Sarah and I started all sorts of other things. We tried all sorts of diets. We did things like Weight Watchers diet. We did Atkins. There was the
Egg
paleo.
diet, celery soup diet.
No, I didn't do celery soup. We did Mediterranean. That was another one. That was lots
Oh,
and lots of tomatoes and lettuce and
sounds
things.
delicious.
It was. It's very nice. So anyway, that didn't kind of work. I tried doing different types of sports, thinking, okay, maybe it's the type of activity I was doing. So at the time, my daughter was at the age she wanted to start doing karate. So I was doing karate with my daughter. She thought it was great. She got to beat dad up. Win-win scenario, isn't it? And then a friend of mine was when I was down in London. He ran a kickboxing gym and Potter's Bar. So I used to go join that in an evening because it used to be quite late, 9 till 10. But yeah, still nothing kind of changed. I was still weighing at an extraordinary amount, and it wasn't until we got to 20. It was the 2018, 2019 New Year. Sarah and I were on holiday over in Lanzarote, and I just said to her, I said I was just exhausted. I was fed up with literally just losing pounds out of my wallet and not my waist. I was getting grumpier because I was having less time. I was more tired. Wasn't getting any results. And it was a case of something has to do. You have to do something different, and
You
maybe
must have been losing hope as well.
yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, I was thinking maybe this is it. I mean, my father's not the slimmest of gentlemen, so it wasn't like I was expecting to be down to I don't know, supermodel size or something. But he was kind of thinking, okay, maybe this is me. Maybe this is who I'm supposed to be. And even Sarah
Mm.
said, that's not necessarily a bad thing. You're happy, you got a good family, you got good friends, etc. Then maybe you just live happily as you are. And I was considering it, and just reminded Sarah of the fact that my dad had, as I mentioned, he was quite big. But he's already had thyroid cancer, so he had to have his thyroid removed. He had bits of skin cancer. He's got fibromyalgia and diabetes. He was medically retired at the age of 50. So he's not a very well man. And then we lost his twin brother, my uncle, to pancreatic cancer around about the same time. Also, my brother, who's 2 years younger than me, he's suffering with diabetes, fibromyalgia at that time. So it was a bit of, okay, we've got all these other things happening. This isn't a good place to be, really. But what else could I do? And Sarah says, well, let's just live happily, and we'll worry about all those things if or when it
I
happens.
like Sarah.
Oh, she's lovely. Yeah, definitely.
I've not met her, but I will do.
Yeah, you'll like her, definitely.
Yeah.
It's good. So yes, as I've started 2019, I was thinking, well, okay, well, this is it. Let's just enjoy life. Just go back into working and doing what we do, and just see where we get to, and just let go of all that. And I did.
And how long had you been trying for? I've lost track.
About 5 years by that point.
5 years.
Yeah, I think 5 years. I'd lost probably 10 kilos in 5 years.
That's not nothing.
Yeah, it's not nothing, but it's still a lot. I mean, and again, that was going up, down, and up, down, and up, and down.
Yeah.
So it's just a bit crazy. So yeah, so that's where we got to then. And then when I was down here, I was doing an event down at the Crown Plaza in Felbridge near Gatwick. When I met a chap there called Pete, who was one of the delegates, who was a really successful business. And he was one of those guys, when you see them, you think, actually, yeah, you look after himself. He just looked the part, really well chiseled features, beautiful suit, really fit him nicely. And so he asked if we could have breakfast with him. So I asked him the question, okay, well, how do you manage to keep yourself looking so fit and healthy when you're running such a successful business? And he just said, yeah, I just work with an online coach, and then I'm not stuck to doing things in the same place at the same time. And I thought, this is great, because I didn't know whether it was going to be the same city, county, or country half the time, because I'm usually jet setting all over the place. So I started working with an online coach specifically around the fitness side. This guy he literally had the body, he was an ex bodybuilder. So he had the body of a Greek god. Think like an Adonis.
Yeah. That's inspiring. I can picture it really easily. Keep talking.
That's okay, yeah. So oil glistening off of his rippling muscles, and the loincloth just covering the.
I had him in something else, but loincloth I'll replace it with.
Anyway, so in all seriousness, I'm kind of stood there with him. It's like looking more like Buddha than a Greek god, godlike. But yeah, so but he kind of started to teach me a lot more about what I should do for movement, and how that kind of really helps like bring your body together. And then I started to learn more about diet and how that works. And then I kind of started to notice there's some similarities between actually what you need to do for your body and what you do when you're changing businesses. And that was kind of one of the biggest awakeners for me. And I started to utilize some of those skills I use in business. So, for example, you mentioned things like being an NLP practitioner, and then I use very similar skills when I've been changing businesses because, businesses are all about people. You've got to, first of all, you've got to make sure the people can change. Because no matter what you try to do anywhere else in it, if people don't change, nothing changes, right? So I thought, okay, well, how can I utilize some of those skills and things like, for example, a lot of the project portfolio planning? How could I take some of that learning there and really ingrain it into how you change your own body? So, for example, your body doesn't change instantaneously; it needs time. So, trying to go in there and saying, okay, I'm going to do this in 4 weeks, it's a non-starter. You might as well hang up the flag right now and go for broke because your body just doesn't change like that. Or if it does, it'll change back equally as quick. And that's what most people find. They go on these get fit quick schemes, or they get these pills or whatever it is that they're going to be taking. And yes, they'll have an instantaneous result, but then 4 weeks later, they're back to where they were or worse because the body has to compensate because it believes it being in some kind of starvation mode and stuff. So you just do things like 90-day plans for your body, and then all of a sudden you're using the same methodologies you would do with a business because your first set of 4 weeks is all around how you set things up, how do you test to see what's going on in your body. Next set of 4 weeks, just like honing it, make it look better. Last 4 weeks, you can optimize it, but by this stage, you start to see some plateaus happening. So then you reset again. So again, you're not doing the old thing with the business where you're just measuring once a year, but you're measuring like 4 times a year. You've now got different ways of being able to approach things. And then looking at things like KPIs, how do you kind of build some proper KPIs around your body so that you start to use the same kind of rigor? So you're changing based on evidence, not based on just what somebody down the pub says or what the fitness influencer says on TikTok.
One size fits all.
Yeah.
Because you've probably been doing the one size fits all with all the different, with you doing best exercise you can, but also with the different Weight Watchers. Or that's a one size fits all, isn't it? Whereas we're not all the same. I mean, I only burn 1,000 calories a day. I mean, that I'd have to, a normal diet, I'd put weight on. So, and I've had that tested. So, one size fits all wouldn't work for me. You might have somebody who's even shorter than me and can burn 2,000 calories a day. We're not the same, are we?
That's right. And it also depends on what activities you've got, what goals you've got, what family history you've had. So you're absolutely spot on. And the worst thing most people try to do is they try to fit somebody else's life into their life. And
Yeah.
suddenly they get more stressed because they're trying to do almost like twice the amount of everything. And you got enough trouble living your own life in your own life, let alone trying to fit somebody else's life into it. And it's like, okay, well, actually take that step back. Rule number one, what can
Create
you actually
space.
do? Yeah, create space. What can you actually work? And that's the other side of things. What you usually find is by bringing some of these more rigorous practices that you do in business actually into your life, you do create space anyway. Because you stop the thing of either cancelling on yourself, which is the worst that you could ever do. First one, great. That's not one. That's not great, but it's better than cancelling on yourself. But actually putting the time in to say, this is time for me. I mean, that is actually so crucial.
I'm a priority.
Yeah, definitely.
And am I right in thinking that you were saying that other people, when you say try and fit other people's lives in, they see a program that somebody else has done that's worked for them and think, right, well, I'll just copy that. Or sometimes you hear people say, well, I'll see how you get on, and if it works on you, I'll do it. Meanwhile, they're obviously on pause for a little while but you can only be a guinea pig of yourself for yourself because we've all got different metabolisms, different things that motivate us. Yeah.
That's right. And it's like, for example, when I was working with my coach, who was the ex-bodybuilder, he had certain expectations. So, for example, he would expect that you could just drop everything and have a snooze whenever you wanted, or you could quite happily eat like 6 meals, and you would be there at any point to be able to prepare these meals wherever you are. And that's not necessarily how other people's lives work.
No.
So it's great as a bodybuilder because obviously you set your life up to do that. But for a lot of people that are in business, not a lot of normal people, that's not how their lives work. They can't just drop everything to have a snooze at 2 o'clock in the afternoon because their body's in the right space to actually be able to do that. So how do you then start to create a life that actually fits the things in that you need your body to do, but also fits in the things that you need your life to do as well? And that's creating that lifestyle that becomes fit for you. So you create a methodology that kind of fits around it. And if you find, for example, that actually your body has a natural rhythm that says, yeah, you need to have a snooze at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, then you need to look at the whole of your life and try
Yes.
and fit that in. You can't just take it as a whim.
Yeah. Can't just go and get in your car at work and you can.
Well, you can, but it's just plan it in there. You just
Yeah.
stick
Yeah.
the thing. I mean, it's not always necessary. Not everybody has those things. But for example, for somebody who's, for example, might have a goal of running several marathons, then what you might be looking to do is to actually fit in more exercise so that you can build up the more mitochondria in your body, and that straight away means that you need more fuel in your body to be able to do that. So you were saying you need 1,000 calories. If tomorrow, for example, you decided you're going to do 3 marathons next year and you need to become marathon ready for that, your body will need more energy to be able to do
Yes.
that. So
Yeah.
straight away, you're going to need more calories. But it's planning that in and then working out. So, for example, from your starting point, plus the goal that you're setting yourself and the actual training that you need, that then becomes almost your template that you're going to be building around your life.
Well, and for me, if I eat more than 1,000 calories, I'm piling weight on. And I do eat more than 1,000 calories. So I probably should start running some marathons. I think that's my answer. Not eating less, running more marathons. So what happened for you then? So you meet this Adonis is your coach. What then happened? Did you
So,
decide to work with him?
yeah. So we worked together. In the first 3 months, I lost 10K, which, as was said before, took me over 5 years to get even anywhere near that.
That must have been so motivating.
Yeah, it's fabulous. It really is. And about that same time, a friend of mine who runs a lot of speaking events, he got me up on stage to a couple of hundred people. And this is the interesting fact when you were talking earlier about goals. And he basically said to me, he goes, so I hear you're looking to lose some weight. I says, yep, because I knew this was coming. It was bound to come. And he says, so how much are you going to lose? And I hadn't really expected that question. So I was quickly doing the numbers, and I thought, okay, I've just done like 10K. It took me 3 months. I'm down to 134 by that point. So, and I remembered when I used to do canoe slalom when I was younger, I weighed in at 88 kilos, and I thought that was actually quite a nice weight. It was a nice weight to compete at. I could do most things that I wanted to do. So I said to him, I'll get down to 88 kilos. So then he asked the next killer question.
When?
When? There's always going to be one extra question in there. And I did the math and I thought, okay, well, actually, I could probably do this in about 18 months. So we agreed on that. In front of everybody. So there's like a couple hundred people that was in the room, plus a few thousand people that were online. And it's interesting because when you start to make public commitments to things, your mind becomes a lot more sharper. And it's like, for example, whenever you've got a goal or you've got something you want to achieve, don't just keep it to yourself. That's an easy way of fooling yourself. Tell other people, get other people around you to hold you to some form of account. And straight away, you will find you can achieve it so much quicker.
Yeah, I call it outing yourself. If I've got a goal that I think if I sit on this, I'm not going to do it, I out myself on Facebook.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. But it's also building that set of supporters around you because
Yeah.
Facebook or publicly is great. I mean, for example, when we did the Cleveland Way the other year, we did it in 5 days, 130 miles we did in total. And we did to raise money for RNLI. But we did that same type of thing, got friends around with support. We took a couple of friends on the actual walk with me, Andy and Dom, my son. We went on BBC Radio. So again, we've got thousands of listeners kind of saying you're going to do this or not. So all of a sudden, you've got a much bigger amount of accountability, which you're more likely to make it happen.
Absolutely. I think, and you're in that, the goal has so much more richness in it, in the getting ready for it. There's community, there's connection, there's celebration, there's support, there's wellness. There's so much. And also you're inspiring other people. There's the knock-on effect of other people thinking, I'll join that goal.
Yeah, definitely. And
So you so you
spotlight is really
yeah,
important.
you're outed on the stage in front of a couple of hundred people in person and a few thousand online that you're going to lose or get down to 88 in eight is it eight was it 88 in 18 months. Did that happen?
So the short story, yes.
Good
The longer
chat.
story. Yeah, the longer story. Well, a few other things kind of happened. So I don't know if anyone remembers that thing happened in 2020. We all had the
Oh, I
lockdown.
don't know. Was that where we had the grounded for a while?
That's the one. But the good news is, I mean, by that point, I'd already learned so much about my own body and how it worked. I learned how to work out no matter where I was. When I was traveling a lot, it didn't matter if I was in a rooftop gym in Prague or basement gym in Bucharest or some luxury gym in Dubai or something.
Oh, life sounded amazing.
It was fun. It's hard work. I mean, living out of hotels is harder than what it sounds.
I know. I used to do sales for hotel groups, and I was permanently in hotels. And I mean, it's a lovely product to sell, and a great job. But it is like you're in two different worlds: the away from home world and then the home world, and that's hard. Yeah.
Yeah, and then sometimes I remember one piece of work I was doing was a $60 million asset transfer between two pharmaceuticals, and literally they paid for Marriott hotels everywhere. So everywhere is Marriott hotel. And if you know anything, you know a lot about hotels, but for those people that don't, they're all decorated in exactly the same way. So they buy the same
Don't know what
furniture, the
country you're waking
same.
up in.
You don't, and it's like it's Groundhog Day, and it's like you're walking down a corridor, it looks exactly the same. It's like, where am I? Am I in Boston or am I in Newark or where am
And the
I?
same menu, the
Yeah,
same room service menu.
yeah, and nothing, everything was deep fried and covered in cheese at that point. I think that was just dreadful.
And you knew not to have anything that was done, nothing after midnight because you knew the kitchen porter or the hall porter was cooking it.
God, yes.
Allegedly 20 years ago. Yeah, so it must have been very challenging having a routine and also not giving yourself permission to have a night off because you've earned it. Because that's another big thing that I know I say to myself, you've worked really hard today and you've done a really great job. Reward yourself with. And the easiest thing is with food or sitting down and doing absolutely nothing. And so when you're away on business doing all that you were doing, I mean, pretty intense work, going to the gym, was that a sense of reward or doing nothing a sense of, I mean, or going to the bar with everybody?
God, yeah. So there's a couple of things you're kind of touching on there. Actually, it's quite interesting. We'll circle back around them. So the reward one's one, and denying yourself something else is something else. And the third one is about building rapport. So there's three really cool points here you've nicely touched on. So the reward is a real powerful one because for most people, my family's included as well. We have food as a celebration, and for most families they do. My family is that we've had a lot of bakers in my family. My gran and her father and everything were bakers, so amazing cakes and stuff. And yeah, so my gran was always a feeder, definitely a feeder. So food's always been a big reward factor. We'd always go out for a meal if something's happening or to celebrate something. So when it comes down to thinking about, how can you reward yourself for doing something good, then try to think of other ways that you can reward yourself without food. So, for example, it might be that you reward yourself with a night off, not doing something. Or you might take your significant other out for a night, go for a nice walk somewhere, something, or go for a spa day, a nice pamper day.
Now you're talking.
So Sarah and I do that a lot these days. We really enjoyed one earlier this year in the lakes, just at Ludor Falls Hotel. Very nice, definitely worthwhile going. So again, it's changing that association, and a
What
lot of this
reward is?
starts by pre-planning. Because half the reason why people fail is because they fall back into the old habits, the old things that they used to do. But actually, if you pre-plan these things and you already have an idea in your mind, how are you going to reward yourself or what you would do if something comes
It's
up?
setting up menus ready, isn't it? Rather than having nothing there when you've got the least energy, you're likely to have the least creativity, and then you're going to default. Whereas if you already have your own menu set up, so here are all my reward. Here's my reward menu. Here's my I've got no time emergency menu.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is so inspiring, Martin.
So that's just brilliant. I mean, if you ever find you're in a position where you just want to find out, what you can give as a reward, just sit down and just do a massive list of all the things you'd really enjoy to do. That's got nothing to do with food, and then all of a sudden you'll find some things that pop out there. Some will be zero cost options because again, you don't have to spend money all the time. And other things might be a really great experience. It might be, going away for that amazing weekend. It might go chasing the aurora borealis. Whatever. Life is so much full of amazing choice and variety. Just let your imagination run riot.
And it's also, I guess, it's also knowing those dip points that we get the reward actually scheduled in rather than, well, if I feel like I want a reward, then I'll have that. But actually knowing you will deserve a reward, have it already in rather than, do I feel I deserve it? It's rather waiting to what you think you feel like in the moment,
Yeah.
have it scheduled in.
Oh, 100%. And celebrate often. Our minds are pre-programmed in a way to find all the bad stuff. We're looking to survive, aren't we? We're looking for that saber-toothed tiger behind every single bush. So you're always looking for, all the bad stuff, and you will be the one person that will always beat yourself up more than anybody else. You'll find all the
Absolutely.
things that have gone wrong. So you have to consciously
Yeah.
celebrate. You have to consciously find all those amazing things you've done every single day. And there will be, there's like a gazillion of them. But your mind will automatically recognize them. So you have to spend the time to actually seek them out and then,
Mm,
celebrate and be successful because of that. Because success begets success. The more you
yeah.
recognize them, the more your brain becomes trained to recognize them because your brain is just built on the fact of, you reinforcing pathways in your
Repetition.
brain.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the more you repeat success, even the smallest of successes, the more your brain starts to recognize success and then starts to repeat those actions that gets
And
you more success.
then in addition to that, there's also the fact that when we're in a state of success, we raise our energy vibration frequency, which attracts in
Mhm.
this like free magic. I call it free magic because we can't see it, so it's got
Well,
to be magic.
I
It's like
think you
Wi-Fi.
can see it because, and you can only see it in certain situations. So, for example, if you ever go to a cafe or a bar, so for example, if you're traveling on your own and you think, okay, I want to just chat to somebody, and you go to a hotel bar or if you go to a cafe or something, and you have a look around, and you think, okay, who can I bump into to have a chat with? Are you going to go bump into the person sat at a bar looking miserable? Or are you going to have a bump into somebody who's looking like they're smiling, having a nice day?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and exactly, and that is the form of magic you're talking about. That's the energy change that people have, and it's putting yourself into that position where you do find that you become a happier person just by the fact that you're recognizing your own successes.
I'll keep it completely anonymous. I was coaching a client a couple of weeks ago, and she said a statement about in the first 2 years, you don't make money. And I said, that doesn't sound like you. And I said, who told you that? Somebody said that to you, and your mind has assumed it as a fact. And then she told me the situation, exactly where she was stood. And then we did a visualization of giving that belief that belonged to somebody else back to them. And then we did a little visualization about what did she want, what's her belief, and what does she want to attract aligned with her belief. And then we've just had a call today, and she's having a record week.
Brilliant.
And so, what I love doing with people is looking at what was the success model? What did we do? What did we remove? What did we plant so that so it can be, what gets measured, gets managed, and gets
Mhm.
duplicated. And so, there's no doubt she put a lot of work in. She made the phone calls, but she was clear about what she wanted. And also, she raised her vibration frequency, where she put her thinking and her thoughts. I don't know what's got us onto that again.
Yeah. So we're talking about success begets success, and
Yes.
yeah, that's a good one. But then the other things we talked about a minute ago was, we were talking about denying yourself things.
Mm,
So you were saying about you go places and I'm not allowed to do this. I'm not allowed to eat that because of this. And again, I'm not a believer of that in any way, shape, or form because your brain can't process negatives.
no.
So the example I
Makes
always
us obsess.
it does, yes. So the example I always give is try not to think of Elmer, the nice patchwork elephant with all those beautiful colours around him. Just try not to think of all those
I
beautiful
didn't
colours
know who
around him.
Elmer was, but thank you. Yes, I
There you go.
totally get you.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And you can't. You
Can't
have to
not.
think of the elephant before you can then put the knot in front of it. So
Yeah.
what you end up doing is you end up thinking of the elephant. And it's like when people say, okay, I'm not allowed to eat cake. I'm not allowed to eat cake. I'm not allowed to eat cake. Your brain's hearing eat cake, eat cake, eat cake all the time. How's that helping you in any way, shape, or form? So actually putting a few controls around these things and saying, okay, if you need to eat cake, eat cake. Yeah, but make sure it's within your meal plan. Or you put simple things in saying, okay, well, save party food for parties. And then, for example, so I coached one lady, and she was really, it was all about, how I'm going to have my son's birthday, can't have the birthday cake, etc. And it's like, well, the stress levels you're putting yourself under trying not to eat the birthday cake is going to be heightening your cortisol, your adrenaline, etc. It's going to be causing you more problems than just having one piece of cake, and it's just having that realization that actually it's not always as bad as it seems. That probably
And the
sounds
other
like
thing is, sorry to interrupt again, but the other thing is, and I don't, it's not a tactic, but on my fire walks, I always say to people, nobody has to do this. Nobody has to walk over fire. You might decide that tonight's not the night, and the next one might be the one for you. You don't get your money back if you don't walk over, but you do get the option of not walking over. And it's a number of people that then the whole system relaxes, and then they know it's their choice. So therefore, now that I know it's my choice, what do I choose? And I think that goes with the cake. So now you're telling me that you're not saying I'm not allowed it. I'm allowed it. I'll see if I want it when I'm there. And then the chances are they forget about the bloody cake. Yeah, they forget. I'm allowed to swear. I've just remembered. Lexi, my golden retriever's in a different room. She won't be offended. But it's funny that when we give people permission, they let go of resistance.
yeah,
And
definitely.
it's the resistance that kind of creates the obsession, isn't it?
Yeah, and then as soon as you get past this point where all of a sudden they've realised they have got choice, they can choose to do whichever way they want to go, and they're choosing them to put themselves first. They're choosing their goals. One of the things I say to guys is always be good to you first.
Yes.
And some people say, that's a really ambiguous statement. What do you actually mean by it? And I said, well, it's designed to be ambiguous because it depends on what you need at that moment in time. If you're feeling ill right this second time, then putting yourself first means put your recovery first. If you're feeling great this moment in time, you've got energy, then putting yourself first might be going out for that run if that's what you're going to do next. If, whatever it is at that point in time, if you're in a position where you've got the option of eating cake or not eating cake, then
I
put
really
yourself
wish we
first.
weren't talking about cake quite so much. Let's talk celery. Eating celery or not eating celery. Yeah.
Yep. Doesn't have the same
It
connotations.
does not. It's not appealing at all.
It's a bit Marmitey, really.
I'm just looking at the time and I've got a few minutes left. Oh, I've got 10 minutes left. That's good. And because I could talk to you all day. What is it? I'd love people to know what it is that you do for people. Because I tell you, I was listening to this really, it was a glimpse into this really interesting, there's reels on Facebook, and it was Wayne Dyer. And he said, I had this little thought in my mind that I imagined I had this conversation with God. And God said, what do you want to do in this next lifetime? And I said to God, I want to be a teacher. And he said, what of? And he said, self-reliance. And he went, are you sure? And he said, yeah. And he says, are you sure you want to spend your entire life teaching self-reliance? And Wayne Dyer goes, yeah, I'm sure. And he went, right, we'll put you straight into an orphanage. And in that orphanage, you will learn, because you'll have nobody else, you'll learn all about self-reliance. And he said, and then when I look back, at this point in my life, and I look back, my whole timeline was leading me to I was absolutely made to teach self-reliance and all the concepts that go with it. And every experience that I've had, every situation that I failed in, that it's redirected me to, and every lesson I've learned from the failing has all to give me this education so that I can be this teacher of self-reliance. And so, it makes me feel amazing listening to your story and then seeing you in your Sharp Fit studio. Is it at home?
Yes.
Yes. So you get to be close to the cooker for your six chicken meals a day, and you nap at 2, which is marvellous. I'm really happy about that. But you have got this life that is no accident, in harmony with your life. After all, that's what you teach people. But when you look back, so I want to know what it is you do so people can understand how you help people. And then I guess the last question is, Do you feel like your life led you to here and that this may be of something that you said to God after the pandemic that you've got planned? I'd like you to make me really successful, helping people be fit, healthy, and happy.
So I think you're right in the fact that I love making people happier, healthier, and higher achieving. But I think the bit that really kind of works is all around performance. It's all around their own personal performance and how their personal performance impacts then what they're doing, usually within their business as being the key area there, or within their career. Because when someone's performing better, when they're happier, they feel like they've got more energy, they feel like they've got more control, they've got more confidence, they can do so many more things in life.
Mm.
And that for me is exactly what I want to give people. I want to give people that confidence, that ability to be able to do more, and to go out into the world and just be the best version of themselves.
Mm.
And I love it. I love the stories when people have done that. I love the way that they react with it. I love the ripple effect, as Sammy would say, for example, of how that then impacts others. If you're going to
And
say,
gives them so many more options. You know, when people are happier, healthier, got more energy, got a sharper brain, feel good about themselves, the options that become available that were always there, but they perhaps didn't see because they're trying to get through the day. There's so much more opportunity and options accessible to those people. It's a bit like the luckier get lucky. The lucky
yeah,
get luckier, isn't
what's it,
it?
a Gary Palmer thing of whatever, the
The
more I
more I
practice, the
practice.
luckier I get.
I think was it that golfer, Tiger Woods. So it's funny, isn't it? The more I practice, the no, the more I practice, the more I win. Oh, I can't remember. I think I've just messed a joke up badly.
Not to worry. But
Somebody will know it and be shouting it as they're listening and watching this. No, the quote was
comment below.
yes.
Definitely. Remind us who it was. There's so many great quotes out there. See, half the time I have trouble remembering which ones are which.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that for me is what I love doing, and that's the kind of end result of what people get. How they get that is really teaching them about how their bodies work, because everybody's body is different, and it's the old adage of give a man a fish, you can eat for a day. Teach a man to fish, it can suddenly live for a lifetime. And the same with someone's body. The human body was not designed with a user manual. We all could have done with one,
Mhm.
100%. Most of us, especially the men in the room, probably would not have read it the first time. Uh,
Me.
but that doesn't mean as you get older, you start to appreciate something like that, and actually understanding how you recreate your own user manual, so that every 3 months, as your body does change, you've got a way of being able to actually take control of that and know how to change. Or if you want to change your goals, you want to climb Everest, or you want to go run a marathon, or even if you just want to enjoy life for summer, whatever it is that you want to do, if you can actually now write that manual for yourself so that actually you know what to do, and then you know which experts you need to bring in. So if you need to find a nutritionist, you know that you need that. If you need to find a PT to help you, you know you need that. If you need somebody to help as a life coach, something, you know you can go get those. If you need a business coach, if you need someone to teach you how to play a bit more, if you need to teach somebody to teach you to go canoeing or something, I don't know. There's all those opportunities, but then because you've already got your guide there to be able to help create that for you. So that's the kind of mechanical part of it, and people within the community that I run, some of those need that help and hand, and I'm there to give them that help and hand over a longer period of time. Well, so that's the kind of mechanical item of it. And then if we think about the other question you posed, so is this something that I was inevitably going to end up doing? And I'm going to say yes, because obviously this is my life and this is where I am. So I inevitably got here. But if I kind of look backwards, like Steve Jobs said, and join the dots, when like I said earlier, I love taking things apart. I always have done. And, that led me to really enjoy working with computers originally. I thought that was the be all and end all of everything. It was kind of like a way of being able to do these amazing things, and started working with organizations on those. And from that led me into realizing it wasn't the actual gadgets that help, it's actually some of the software behind it that makes it work. And I spent a long time learning more about that. I was doing things like load control, load monitoring systems, and energy trading systems for power stations and things. That kind of led me more into actually understanding, well, it's not the automation bit that's important. It's the information that these things are storing, and that's the valuable bit. So I learned more about information management, information security, how all that kind of works, and that kind of gave me this next set of fundamentals. Because then you suddenly realize that the information's only important if it's working with certain people and they need the processes to be able to work with it and the hierarchy, the structure, etc. And started working like that kind of area and restructuring and helping people understand and visualize exactly what's actually happening inside their organizations. And then the next natural progression is, now we're kind of sorting the organization out, we're back to the people again. It's, how
Mm.
do we encourage people to actually take control so they become happier, they become more productive, they are in a position where actually they feel more? Because I don't know about you, but I come across so many people that are miserable in their work, in their career, and you're thinking, hang on, you spend so many hours of your life doing this. You shouldn't be miserable. This is your life. But I think there's almost a thing with society at the moment which have said, you've got to be miserable being at work. That's like the norm, as opposed to turning that around and saying, no, I don't want to be miserable at work. Actually, I really enjoy what I do, because I do really enjoy what I do. And therefore,
Mm.
how can I make it even better?
And I think people have seen or grown up seeing their parents do a job to put food on the table and then just unconsciously not expected to be happy at work and not really thought about it and just continue with the same pattern. What just in closing, she says, what one tip would you give anybody that has that stirring, that feeling that I think I'm meant for more? What one tip would you give them that would help them in this moment?
Oh, I think I'm lent for more. Go with it.
Go
Would
with
be
it.
my tip. So don't try to resist it. Don't try to push it out to one side, etc. Just go with it. Just take that feeling and explore it. See where it takes you.
Trust it.
Yeah, I mean, some of the best things I've done have always happened by accident. I ended up doing snow sculpting completely by accident. I ended up having to run 3 marathons next year completely by accident. It's those accidents are the things that kind of teach you some of the greatest things and take you to some of the best adventures ever. So,
Yeah.
whatever that feeling is at the moment, just explore it, go with it. You just don't know where it's going to take you. And like you were saying, this could be the thing that you were built for. This is exactly what you are meant for. And in which case, fighting it is irrelevant. It's just going to
Yeah.
happen anyway.
Oh, I love that. Martin, thank you so much. You're so inspiring. I will put your details in the description box, and anybody that's looking for a bit of Martin in their life, which I just think you've got this most lovely nature about you that people have permission to be exactly who they are and who they want to be. And I think that's a real gift because I think there's a lot of people in the fitness field that think the way for their clients to be successful is by pushing, forcing, and being strict with them. And that just brings up resistance in them. So you're not looking for a battle in your dream job. So I just love your style. So I wish you so much success. And thank you so much for sharing your heart and soul with our audience today.
Oh, you're very welcome. It's been a pleasure being here. And yeah, any questions or anything that come up, but just let me know. I'm always happy to help and answer. And yeah, it's been a really enjoyable conversation. I've loved all the different directions it's taken us in.
It's been scary. It's been a ride. Thank you, darling.
You're welcome.